I spent over 20 years as a cosmetology instructor. I've been a rideshare driver. I live in Tucson, Arizona. I'm not a politician. I'm not an academic. I don't have a law degree or the policy background or any of the credentials that are supposed to qualify someone to talk about how this country is governed. What I do have is a habit I can't shake. I started asking questions about why things work the way they work, about who benefits from the systems we're all living inside, about what the history books have left out and why. And once you start asking those questions seriously, with primary sources and documented evidence and a real commitment to the difference between what is proven and what is assumed, you can't stop. The questions get louder and the answers become more uncomfortable. And at some point, you have a choice. You can put it down and go back to not knowing, or you can do something with it. Well, I'm doing something with it. This series is called the United States of Democracy. It's a complete civic redesign proposal, not vague aspirations, not political talking points dressed up as solutions. Specific structural mechanisms, real architecture, a system that was always supposed to serve the people funding it, and a blueprint for getting it back there. I'm Ryan. This is Searchlight Archive. Episode 1 starts now. The original promise of American governance is actually a good one. Representative government, separation of powers, accountability to the governed, a system owned by the people rather than operated on them. The problem isn't the promise. The problem is what happened to it over 250 years of institutional drift. Here's the image that captures it. The founding principles: transparency, participation, accountability, representation are the sandstone, the load-bearing foundation. For the first few decades, it held reasonably well, imperfectly, with significant failures around who was included in the promise, but structurally functional. Then came the granite. Power stacked on top of power. Financial influence turning legislation into negotiation between the governed and the people paying for the governing. Regulatory capture making agencies answerable to the industries they regulate. Judicial decisions making corporations people, and money speech. Each layer of granite adding weight to a sandstone foundation that was never designed to carry it. I know the instinct right now is to burn it down. That feeling makes complete sense. It comes from genuine disconnection, from watching a system that claims to represent you consistently benefit someone else. But here's what the historical record shows. Revolutions are extraordinarily good at removing the people currently holding power. They are extraordinarily bad at changing the structure that concentrated power in the first place. You remove one set of elites, the structural vacuum gets filled by another. Different faces, same incentives, same drift, sometimes faster. What actually works is redesign, not demolition. A reboot, not a revolution. A return to the foundational principles with structural changes that make those principles enforceable rather than aspirational. That build accountability into the architecture rather than relying on the honor system of whoever happens to be in charge. This is what this series is. A complete civic redesign proposal built episode by episode. A national council of 50 state representatives. A people's chamber of randomly selected citizen auditors inside the accountability structure of government itself. A 10-year transition model. Funding mechanisms. Constitutional protections. The actual architecture of a governance system that serves the people it claims to represent. Not left versus right. Not parties, not politics as we know it. The structural failures of American governance are not owned by one party. They predate the current polarization and will outlast it if they are not addressed structurally. And the people who benefit from the current dysfunction are counting on the opposition to it remaining vague, were not going to be vague. This July, the American experiment turns 250 years old. A few young men, no ruling empire behind them, no guaranteed outcome in front of them, decided the system governing them had drifted so far from what it was supposed to be that it needed to be rebuilt from the ground up. Not destroyed, rebuilt. They called it an experiment. They built amendment into the architecture because they knew that what worked for 4 million people in 13 colonies wasn't going to serve 330 million people across 50 states without being rebooted along the way. This is the reboot they were always hoping the experiment would eventually produce. Strong systems don't rely on good intentions. They rely on good design. And the design has to be built on purpose, because it will absolutely not build itself. Episode 2 is next. The guardrails of governance. The permanent structural protections that stop corruption before it starts. Because your rights should not depend on who won the last election. This full episode is on Substack. Everything I've built, every episode of this series, every piece of documented research, every thread of this argument is in the Searchlight Archive and First Light Archive on Substack. I'm Ryan. Echoes of the Cosmos. I'll see you in episode 2.